Section 2 of A Plain English Handbook, How to Create Clear SEC Disclosure Documents by the Office of Investor Education and Assistance, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Marianne. Chapter 1. What is a Plain English Document? We'll start by dispelling a common misconception about plain English writing. It does not mean deleting complex information to make the document easier to understand. For investors to make informed decisions, disclosure documents must impart complex information. Using plain English assures the orderly and clear presentation of complex information so that investors have the best possible chance of understanding it. Plain English means analyzing and deciding what information investors need to make informed decisions before words, sentences, or paragraphs are considered. A plain English document uses words economically and at a level the audience can understand. Its sentence structure is tight. Its tone is welcoming and direct. Its design is visually appealing. A plain English document is easy to read and looks like it's meant to be read. This handbook's purpose. This handbook gives you practical tips on how to create plain English documents. All of these were born of experience. They come from experts and those who have already written or rewritten their documents in plain English. As with all the advice in this handbook, feel free to tailor these tips to your schedule, your document, and your budget. Not all of the tips will apply to everyone or to every document. Pick and choose the ones that make sense for you. Some of our tips cover very basic mechanical issues, like how to photocopy your working draft. We've included them because they were learned the hard way and have saved people time, money, and aggravation. You'll see them listed in Chapter 8, titled Time-Saving Tips. This handbook is by no means the last word on plain English. We expect to change it and add more tips as we learn more about writing securities documents in plain English. So please keep notes on your experiences and copies of your original and rewritten language. We want to hear from you and include your tips and rewrites in the next edition. Finally, we encourage you to give this handbook out freely. It is not copyrighted, so you can photocopy it without fear of penalty. Chapter 2. Getting Started. Assemble the team or move ahead on your own. As with a lot of things in life, it's the preparation that often determines the success or failure of an effort to write documents in plain English. Many of you routinely select a team to think and talk about how to write a document from scratch or rewrite an existing document. Or you may do it on your own. In that case, rest assured that one person can do it alone. The list below describes the types of people who have participated in successful plain English teams. We're not suggesting that you need to select everyone listed. Some will not apply to your company or your situation. The people you select and the point at which you involve them in your plain English project will depend on your document, your schedule, and your budget. A team leader, who has the authority to make decisions that keep the project moving forward and bring it to a successful conclusion. More than one plain English project has faltered because the team leader has not had this level of authority. The team leader may be a company's or an underwriter's lawyer. A lead writer, who ensures the document uses a logical structure and simple, clear language. If more than one person is drafting sections of the document, the lead writer makes sure the final draft has a consistent tone and the individual parts form a coherent whole. Lawyers for the company or the underwriter who know what information must be included and why. An investor relations expert who knows firsthand the financial sophistication of your investors. Investor relations people know which questions investors typically ask and where past disclosure documents have failed to make information clear. A compliance officer who can lend guidance to the writer and who knows, along with your lawyers, what information must be included. A production and operations person who understands the mechanics and costs of printing and mailing your document so that your improved document doesn't get ahead of your in-house capabilities or budget. A marketing person who may have market survey research or polls on your investors. Also, the marketing department is usually attuned to the terminology that your investors can readily understand. An information designer, who is a graphic designer trained to work closely with the writers and to think about how to present complex information visually. Select documents. You may want to consider these issues as you start writing in plain English. How long is the document? Will you write all of it, or only sections of it, in plain English? How much time do you have before you need to file your document? You will also want to gather and distribute other documents that your company has written for investors. It's likely that your company has already used plain English in its glossy annual reports and other communications prepared especially for investors. These documents may save you time by showing you the type of language your company is already comfortable using. Chapter 3. Knowing your audience. Knowing your audience is the most important step in assuring that your document is understandable to your current or prospective investors. To write understandable documents, you need to gauge the financial sophistication of your investors. Through polls and other market survey research tools, some companies know the demographics of their investors well. Other companies rely on their investor relations staff or their underwriters to describe who has bought or is likely to buy their securities. Using whatever information is available, you can create a profile of your investors or prospective investors based on the following questions. What are their demographics, age, income, level of education, and job experience? How familiar are they with investments and financial terminology? What investment concepts can you safely assume they understand? How will they read the document for the first time? Will they read it straight through or skip around to the sections that interest them? Will they read your document and your competitors side by side? How will they use the document while they own the security? What information will they be looking for later, and is it easy to find? Your investors or prospective investors may include individuals and institutions with varying degrees of financial sophistication. While your audience will include analysts and other industry experts, you may want to keep in mind that your least sophisticated investors have the greatest need for a disclosure document they can understand. Some companies have faced the differing needs of their investors and other audiences by making basic educational information visually distinctive from the rest of the text, so that sophisticated investors can easily recognize and scan it. Once you've drawn a profile of your investors, keep it constantly in mind. Some writers keep a photo of a typical investor to make sure they don't lose sight of their readers. After analyzing who your investors are, you can turn to the document you want to write or rewrite. One must consider also the audience. The reader is the judge. Aristotle, Rhetoric. Chapter 4. Knowing the information you need to disclose. The steps outlined in this section have been used successfully by others who have written disclosure documents in plain English. As we said earlier, feel free to tailor these steps to your own schedule and team. This is one approach if you are rewriting an existing document, but others may work equally well. Read and outline the current document. Read the entire document once without making any notes or comments on the text. This should give you a general understanding of the information covered in the document and make your next read more productive. When you read it the second time, make notes on what information is covered and any questions you have. Your notes will also help you assess if information flows through your document in logical order. As you read, consider the following. Will the investors understand the language? Does the document highlight information that is important to investors? Is any important information missing? Does the document include information that is not legally required and will not help investors make informed decisions? Meet to resolve questions. Meet with the authors of the original document or others who understand it and any members of the team who can help to answer the questions you wrote in the margins. Besides the obvious reason for the meeting, another more important goal is to question the need for everything that appears in the document. Because it's always been there is not reason enough to keep it in your draft. Since much of the language in these documents is recycled from older or another company's documents, often no one knows who initially wrote it or why it is needed now. If you've done your legal research and no one knows why the information is important or required, consider taking it out. Eliminate redundant information. Question the need for repeating any information. Reading the same material 2 or 3 times can bore and even trouble readers. Most readers skip over paragraphs if they think they've read them before. If you cut down on repetitious paragraphs or sentences, you'll not only earn the gratitude of your reader, you'll reduce printing and mailing costs. Discuss the cover page and the summary. A cover page should be an introduction, an inviting entryway into your document, giving investors some key facts about your offering, but not telling everything all at once. If it looks dense and overgrown with thorny details, no one will want to pick it up and start reading. If it looks like a legal document written by lawyers and for lawyers, many investors will not even attempt to read it. To create an inviting cover page, you'll need to strip away much of what is conventionally placed there, but which is not required. As you review your cover page, question why each item of information is there. It may be important, but does it have to be on the cover page? You usually have a substantial document following the cover page. Let some of those other pages carry the information load in logical order. What would be helpful for investors to see on this page? Look through your investors' eyes, and you'll make better decisions about where to place information. The same goes for the summary. A summary should orient the reader, highlighting the most important points that are presented in greater detail in the prospectus. Many summaries now seem as long as the document itself and consist merely of paragraphs copied straight from the body of the document. Use defined terms sparingly. Although customary, introducing defined terms on the cover page and in the summary discourages many readers from getting beyond the first pages. Overwhelmed with memorizing a new and unnatural vocabulary, and bothered by constantly having to flip back and hunt for the first time a defined term's definition appears, many an investor will not stick with the document. One plain English expert has advised, "Don't let a shortcut for the writer become a roadblock for the reader." Chapter 5. Reorganizing the document. A few principles of good organization apply universally. First, present the big picture before the details. Prospectuses routinely start with a detailed description of the securities. You may read pages before you find out what the company produces or why it is merging or spinning off a subsidiary. It's hard to absorb the details if you don't know why they are being given to you. Imagine trying to put together a complicated jigsaw puzzle without first seeing the picture of the completed puzzle. An individual piece of information means more to your readers if they know how it fits into the big picture. Second, use descriptive headers and subheaders to break your document up into manageable sections. Prospectuses impart a lot of information. If you present the information in bite-sized pieces, it's easier to digest. Make sure your headings tell the reader what the upcoming sections will cover. Headings like General or Background aren't especially helpful. Third, always group related information together. This helps you identify and eliminate repetitious information. Fourth, your audience's degree of investment expertise will affect how you organize the document. If you are writing for financially unsophisticated investors, your document's overall organization may take an educational approach. You may need to explain industry terms or concepts when they first appear. Fifth, review your document by taking a good look at the flow of information from beginning to end. Start making decisions on how the content should be moved around into a new and logical order based on the audience profile, the notes you made in the margins, the decisions you've made on your cover page and summary, the information you've learned in answering your questions. Once you have finished physically reorganizing the document, you may want to write an outline of your new organization. Your outline can later become your table of contents. You're now ready to start rewriting your document in plain English. And, Speaking of writing. End of section 2.